Well, welcome everybody to this amazing event. We have been trying to plan this for months, and the day is finally here, and I'm just so excited. I'm on the verge of tears, honestly. We bring you Yasmine Mohammed and Sara Ghorbani, who are two of the bravest women in our Wolf Sisterhood, and indeed on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. They both have escaped the real life Handmaid's Tale, the real thing, not the book, not the movie, the honest to God thing that's happening now on planet Earth, and they come to bring us both their warnings and their courage. Yasmin was born and raised in Vancouver, Canada, but endured similar struggles to girls born in Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, or Iran. At 19, she was forced to marry a member of Al Qaeda, and she quickly became pregnant with her baby girl. Not wanting her daughter to have the same life that she did, she planned a daring escape. She still lives with the threat of murder for getting divorced, living alone, taking off her hijab, and sullying the family honor. She's the author of the best-selling book, Unveiled: How the West Empowers Radical Muslims. She's the host of the Yasmine Mohammed Podcast, which I highly recommend, and she's the co-founder and co-director of the Clarity Coalition. Sara Ghorbani is a women's rights activist, educator, and she's Yasmine Mohammed's right-hand woman. As an ex-Muslim woman from Iran, Sara has been working relentlessly to raise awareness about Islamo-trauma and gender apartheid in Islamic countries and communities, and to counter Islamo-fascist propaganda in today's world. Sara is a member of United Against Gender Apartheid campaign and works to raise awareness about the oppression of women in Islamic nations and to pursue legal criminalization of gender apartheid around the world. She currently works as communications coordinator for Yasmine Mohammed as well as with Clarity Coalition. So, welcome the two of you to our Wolf event. I'm just so pleased to see both of you again and to get started on this conversation. So we have a bunch of questions for you. Um, the first is that there may be women in our sisterhood and just in the general public who don't know who you are. And so I'd like to start by asking you both just to give us your life story, your history. Where did you start and how did you get here? Just so women know your deep, deep background, and where you've been. So who would like to go first?
Yasmin goes first.
Okay. I'm gonna try my best, but as you know, Lierre, you held up the book. Like there's a lot, but I'm gonna try and be as concise as possible. So my mom is from Egypt. My dad is from Gaza. They met in university and moved to San Francisco. And then afterwards, it was like the peace, love, and hippie era around the 60s, and my mom felt like it was just a bit too much. And so they moved to Vancouver, and then that's where I was born, Vancouver, Canada. But their marriage still fell apart anyway. And so my mom at this point's got three kids living in Vancouver, and she was looking for community. She's looking for support. She's looking for you know, friendship. And she goes to the local mosque. Now, she's not really practicing Muslim at all. It's just kind of part of her identity, but she's not really, like, she's not like she wears hijab or prays 5 times a day or whatever. Like, she's done everything that is haram. But she just was looking for community. And at this point, this was right after the Islamic regime of Iran took over, and there was like this resurgence of, it was like a huge morale boost for, the political Muslims to feel like, yeah, we can do this. Like, not only was Iran something to aspire to, but they wanted to, like, Saudi Arabia especially, wanted to even counter Iran's power because they were Shia and they're Sunni. And so they wanted this whole political Islam. They wanted to spread Islam across the globe, not just in the Middle East. And my mom totally got into this movement. It was happening at that time. She got on that train. Um, as I described briefly, she had real problems with America and the West because she felt like that's the reason why her marriage fell apart. And this ideology was really a combination of anti-West, pro-Islam. And she didn't really click with the pro-Islam side of things, but she really clicked with the anti-West side of things. And so she just sort of took the pro-Islam as part of the package. And then she started to become more and more and more and more radicalized. So everything in our lives changed. She became second wife to an Egyptian man who was a political Muslim. She started wearing hijab, put me and my sister in hijab. We were forced to pray 5 times a day, forced to memorize Quran, forced to go to Islamic schools. It was all about controlling us, even though we're living in the West, we have to be Muslim, we have to be separate. We're told just because you're born in a barn doesn't make you a horse. Just because you're born in Canada doesn't make you Canadian. You're still Muslim. These are the infidels, these are the enemies. And when I was 17, after I graduated from high school, I was dropped off in Egypt. Unbeknownst to me, I was there for, I thought I was going on a summer vacation, but I was there for 2 years where they tried to force me into a marriage with my cousin, just trying to control me, trying to keep me away from the Westerners. I was able to get back to Canada through telling my mom, I just want to come and say goodbye to my country and goodbye to the, my past life. Just want to come visit Canada one last time. And then once I got to Canada, I was like, unless you're duct taping me and putting me on that plane, I'm not going back. And so she had to up the ante, and that's when they got the Al Qaeda terrorist. And my mom said, we finally found somebody who's strong enough to control you. And so he'd lost his Egyptian citizenship because he was a terrorist. And he was living in Afghanistan with bin Laden. He was involved in the World Trade Center bombing of 93. Canada gave him refugee status. And they told me that he was a Red Crescent driver in Afghanistan. He wasn't involved in any terrorism. He's a good man. That wasn't true, of course. Very long story. Eventually, CSIS, who are like the Canadian CIA, were able to contact me through a very, it was like, if not for like the flap of a butterfly's wing, they wouldn't have been able to contact me. But anyway, they were able to for this one moment. And they explained to me that I was married to an Al Qaeda terrorist and showed me all these pictures of different men and asked me all these questions. And that's when I realized that what I was married to, which I was not too much of a surprise. And then when I went to him and I said, is it true you were driving an ambulance or were you a terrorist? He's like, I wasn't driving an ambulance. Are you kidding me? He was very proud of the fact that he was a terrorist. And that kind of opened the door to him saying, yeah, and that's what we're going to do. Like, I'm taking you to Peshawar, and I'm going to die fi sabilillah. I'm going to die for the sake of Allah to spread Islam across the globe. That is what I'm going to do. So again, through a long series of very difficult events, I was able to get my daughter and myself away from him. And eventually away from my mom. I was able to get a divorce from him, full custody of my daughter. You can just imagine like the details of the difficulty of this. I'm really zipping through it because I want to make sure Sara gets time because she's got a very important story that needs to be told. So then basically my daughter and I moved away, got away from everybody. My mom is, like you mentioned, Lierre, threatening to kill me over hijab. Start going to university. Thank goodness I'm in Canada where I can get student loans, go to university, start my life over again, or start my life for the first time. And And that's what I did. So from going from a girl who never thought I was going to ever go to university, I became a university professor. So that was really empowering to feel that I was able to overcome to that extent. Um, but I still stayed quiet because it was still very scary. In Islam, if you leave the religion, you have 3 days to repent, and if you don't, then you're to be killed. And that can be done by any believing Muslim. This isn't like in a court of law. And I stayed quiet for many, many years. And then eventually there was an episode of Bill Maher with Sam Harris and Ben Affleck, where they were talking about the Pew research that showed that people who left Islam, when they were asking people in Egypt, people who leave Islam, should they be killed? And the answers, almost 90%, were overwhelmingly yes, they should be killed. Because currently they're not killed in Egypt, they're sent to an insane asylum. But in 15 other countries, they're killed. And they're saying, should we also kill them in Egypt? And they're like, yeah, we should. So for these two men on HBO to be talking about me, essentially, I'm half Egyptian, I left Islam, and it just felt like, as they say, I felt seen and heard. I was represented by, on mainstream media, and it was crazy. And then the next day, these two men are just being attacked, not for anything that they said, but for the fact that they're white American men. How dare they speak? And so that's what made me feel compelled to speak up. Here I am, brown-skinned Arab woman. I'm going to say the same thing these men are saying, and it's going to be harder to shut me down because of my immutable characteristics. It's going to force people to engage with the argument. And that's how I got started in this world. Thank you, Sarah, for letting me go first.
I love you so much. Sorry, guys, this is gonna be a love fest for Yasmine. I love her. She has
We
saved my
all love
life.
her. She's amazing.
She makes me feel sane and seen, and it's
Yeah.
just, I can listen to her talk forever. See, there's so much love going around. Sorry, Lierre, you can just edit this all out if you want from the
We're not
fun
going to
of
edit
it.
it out. She needs to be
Perfect.
loved.
Yes, she does.
I love you all back. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm gonna be very brief because I don't have the same experience as Yasmine does. It's what she has survived is beyond imagination. I was born in the Islamic regime of Iran, right 3 years after the revolution. And I always say I'm 43 years old, and I feel like I've been fighting for 46 because that's how long the regime has been alive, and it's just getting older as I get older. It's a generational thing at this point. So I was born into a regime that believes Islam is the be all and all. And when I was 6, I was put into hijab. And I was told that if you want to leave the house, you wear hijab. If you want to get an education, you wear hijab. If you speak against any of this, you get killed because it's an honor killing. The person who kills you would not be punished, whatever you do. You have to be careful. You can go to hell at age 9. It's a system of brainwashing. What Yasmine describes, completely understand that with every fiber in my being. I was told that my life is worth half a man. My witness is half a man in court. I inherit half my brother when my parents die because I'm basically a half man with a deficient brain. That's the whole system. It's not just one person or one family, it's the whole country. Millions and millions of people telling you again and again and again through every form of media and communication and family members that you're basically a half man. And you have to try twice as hard to prove that you're worth being here. This is what I'm still trying to unlearn. And Yasmine is helping a lot because I have to prove my worth every single minute of every day just to be here. So this is what we call Islamo trauma. It's the religious trauma. That's how my brain is shaped at this point. So I was put into hijab. I survived Iran. I got married when I was 22 years old to a Muslim man. And I had no idea how Muslim he is because he used to wear a tie and he presented very modern. But when we got into it in a real life, because we are not allowed to have relationship outside marriage, I realized that I have fallen into one of those jihadi families, basically, who would not want me to get to work or get an education. And I'm getting my master's at this point. So it's every single day is a fight with them. And I thought I would never see my 30th birthday. So I went to Dubai. I basically packed half a suitcase 7 years out after our marriage, and I went to Dubai, and he came and he apologized and he wanted to continue his life with me. He loved me, yada, yada, yada. We stayed in Dubai. A year later, he left. And I went to court and I asked for divorce. And I only got it because he had given me notarized permission for divorce one of the times that he was abusing me in Iran. And I only stayed because he had given me that permission. So it's 8 years of, I want to go, I can't stay with you, please stay, I apologize. It's just a narcissist. Muslim. It's just typical. And I'm so in this culture and in this religion and in this life that I don't see it as abnormal. It's normal. Everybody treats you the same. You're half a woman. You don't deserve any better. I went to Dubai. I got a divorce. I lived in Dubai for 3 years, and it's basically very similar to Iran. It's just a little bit more modern, but it's the same cesspool of Islam. I'm still half a man. I'm still harassed because I'm a brown woman. I'm Muslim. Why am I not wearing hijab? I came to Canada and I started talking about it, and I was instantly called Islamophobic, racist, fascist, Nazi. You don't understand. It's your bad experience with Islam. It's not the real Islam. It's not all Muslims. Everything you can think of was thrown at me. So I became silent. And for about a decade, I waited. I thought I'm a Middle Eastern woman. I'm a brown person. I am a savage. I don't understand really. So these modern Westerners with all their educations and understanding and DEI and inclusiveness and everything else, they know better. They have to educate me. They will. I will give them the chance to educate me. And I listen. And I waited for about a decade. And then Mahsa Jina Amini was murdered, and women in Iran were called Islamophobic. Same show, again, for burning their hijab or cutting their hair and not wanting forced hijab, or talking about how they're dehumanized, basically, in the system. And I thought, I can't shut up anymore. I don't care if nobody listens. I don't care if I'm the bad guy. I don't care if I'm racist at this point, because it makes no sense to me. So I went online and I started talking. And Yasmine followed me on Twitter. I had 2 followers. One of them was Yasmine. And I still remember the day I screamed when she followed me on Twitter. And my mom is like, people are dying in Iran, and I'm screaming because Yasmine Mohammed followed me. And then she said, do you want to come on my podcast? And I'm like, why? And she said, to talk about your experience. I'm like, but why? Why? Like, what do you want me to talk? There's nothing to talk about. And she's like, come to the podcast, talk. People want to listen. And it was liberating to be seen and to be validated by somebody that has lived through this. And then I read her book, and her book basically made me feel sane again. It's not me. It's not my fault. It's not my problem. It's basically every single woman that has survived that religion goes through it. Yasmine gave me my voice back. She told me that people want to listen, and I started talking, and I have basically not shut up for the past 3 years. So that's why every time I talk about anything that has anything to do with Islam and with my sanity, it goes back to her, because she has saved my life. And she says no, but she has. She knows. She has. So that's how I'm going to stop now. Sorry, I'm rambling. I love her so much.
I love you too,
You're not
Sara.
rambling. You're not rambling. This really, we need to understand this. I mean, whatever abuses I've been through, like I read Yasmine's book, and I just thought I'd add to that an entire culture where women are not allowed to leave the house, and I don't know how anybody gets out alive. So I would like to ask you both just to describe some of the sort of quotidian, just the everydayness of what it's like to live inside this culture with men who are this entitled to that coercive control. Because I I mean, just give one example from somebody that I know. Is a friend of mine who, like the two of you, she's an ex-Muslim woman. She was born in the West. Um, she long since left the religion, wants nothing to do with it. She's as secular, as Western, as feminist as anyone on this call right now. And I was another group that we were in, and we had an opportunity to be on television. And I said, "Oh, you should do this interview. You're such a good speaker." And she looked at me and she's like, "You don't understand this yet." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You just don't get it." And I'm like, "Explain." I have no idea literally no idea what she's getting at. She says, I cannot appear on television without wearing a hijab and I won't do it. And I was like, what do you mean you can't? What are you talking about? She's like, within 10 minutes, everybody in my family's community will know that I have been on television in public without a hijab, and the shame and the opprobrium that will come down upon my family, and then the potential violence essentially that could come to me for appearing in public like that without a hijab. I can't. I literally cannot appear on television. And it just blew my mind that in, this century that there are women who cannot appear in my country. This isn't even like someplace far away that I can sort of pretend isn't there. She's right here. She's my friend, and this is her life experience. She cannot appear in public, to that degree. She'll never be able to claim her voice, her stature, her career, because she cannot appear on television without wearing hijab, or terrible things are going to happen to her. And I had no idea. I feel like I know a lot about violence against women around the world. I had no idea it was this bad. So then you do the deep dive and you're like, wow, it is really this bad. So I would maybe just explain a little bit about how it is this bad for women, from these parts of the world where you're from and this particular culture. And Yasmine, especially, if you could talk about what happened in Canada when that teacher tried to help you and you went to
Mhm.
court as an incredibly brave teenager and how they utterly betrayed you. I broke down sobbing when I got to that part of your book. Anyway, I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain, Lierre. I mean, Sarah kind of touched on it a little bit too, talking about Osama trauma and your story about your friend. It's like even when we get out, like Sarah and I are sitting here today saying like we got out, we're the survivors, we're the little miracles, but and your friend is an example of that too. But still, it everything that you were indoctrinated with, this idea that you're raised with, that you are lesser than, you are less intelligent, you are a partial human being, your whole role is to be subservient to men. You just you are never, you never have a sense of self-worth. You never have a sense of self, first of all, before you even self-worth. Like you are, it takes so long to overcome all of that, and I don't know if we ever will. We're, you know, I think we'll be on that journey for the rest of our lives. But that's kind of what happened, what you're referring to, what happened to me when I was in grade 8. So I was 12 or 13 years old. Um, there was a gap where the Islamic school did not have a high school yet. And so I was able to go to a public school for 1 year. And in that year, um, I confided in one of my teachers, Mr. Fabro, who wrote the foreword to my book. I confided to him about everything that was going on at home. I told him about the, forced hijab. I told him about the beatings. I told him about the tortures. I told him about this one specific circumstance, where I had written my name as Jasmine instead of Yasmin in a notebook. And my mom and her husband found out, and they were so enraged that I should westernize my name. And they needed to teach me that that was so wrong and horrible. And so they strung me upside down in the garage in at Eid, which is a celebration for Muslims. They slaughter an animal to sacrifice it to God. So they'll get a lamb or a goat or a sheep or whatever. And that's where they would hang the Eid animal every year. And that's where they hung me and whipped me. Um, and I told Mr. Fabro about that. And as a public school educator, it was his responsibility to alert the authorities. So he did. He told the police. Police told child services. Child services had this huge investigation. It went to court. And in the end, in the whole family court system, you can just imagine At this point, I'm probably 13, defying my mom, defying the man she married, defying everybody, thinking, I'm going to get out of this house. I just have to stay strong and tell the truth, and then I'll get out of here. It'll be worth it. Well, the judge said, this is your culture. This is how your family chooses to discipline you. This is their right. You're just going to have to endure.
It's just
So,
unbearable that you were betrayed like that. Like,
yeah,
it's like everything, like national, like this whole concept of, universal human rights just out the window. If you're
completely.
a girl from this culture, it doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want to you. Nothing that we have fought for X hundred years matters at all at this point because
Yeah.
you're not the right kid. It's
And it's confirmation for me that I don't matter, right? I'm
yeah,
already
because
getting that
yeah,
message at home. And
at
now I'm
home.
getting it from a judge in a court of law too, who's saying to me, well, had you been a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl from like families from, Germany or Denmark or Australia or something,
You would count, and this
then
would mean that you were
then
tortured,
you'd
and we would
matter.
help you and
Yeah.
protect you and
Yeah.
take you away from these monsters.
Yeah.
And instead, sorry, you have to go back to hell. It was one of the worst
Yes.
moments in the book. I mean, and I'm
Yes.
talking like, your life. This is one of the most horrible things that everyone just betrayed you like this. It's all worth nothing if we're not going to protect every last girl, and we're clearly not willing to in the West. And it just makes me, how did this happen? We were supposed to care about this as universal principles, and we're
Mhm.
just handing these girls over to these monsters, and I just can't tell you how angry I am about that. And it just breaks my
Mhm.
heart for you that you had to go through that as a young teenager. You were so brave to try to do something to get yourself and your
Thank
sisters
you.
out, and they just completely betrayed. It all just collapsed there. And how has this happened? I'm
Thank you,
so
Lierre.
angry about this. I'm so angry about it. Anyway, thanks for sharing that story, but
Hmm.
it's horrible. And this is,
It's the
I've seen this
cultural
in Germany. I've
relativism.
seen it in Sweden.
Hmm.
Yes, and they make this, oh, well, this is just their culture. We can't
Hmm.
stop it. You should have known he was going to
Hmm.
beat you because that's part of your culture. So why did you marry him? That's what the judges will say. Yeah.
Hmm. And because it's part of your culture, we don't want to judge it. So,
Right.
it's
We're
moral
going to be
relativism too. It's
multicultural.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right and wrong, good and bad,
Don't matter.
depends on the geographic location now, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sarah, what else would you like to throw in here?
I'm thinking about the male guardianship laws right now,
Mhm.
and Yasmin knows what I'm talking about. Because I'm 43 years old and I have a male guardian, Lierre. My husband is my male guardian. Like I'm an imbecile who cannot make decisions on my own. If I want to get an education or travel, if I travel back to Iran and if they don't imprison me and if they don't kill me, he can stop me from coming back to Canada. I'm a Canadian citizen, but he can still stop me from coming back to Canada because the laws in Iran dictate that I'm his property. He decides. If he doesn't want me to get an education, he can stop me. If he wants to take my children, he can take them. If he wants to have 3 more wives, he can do it. I have no say in my own, and that's why this trauma that this is what Yasmin was also talking about, that for us trying to heal that part of ourselves, that I'm human. I'm a complete independent, like autonomy, dignity. They mean nothing in this religion. And we are born into it, and we are told right off the bat that you belong to your father and then to your husband, and if you don't have a husband, it's your brother or your son or your grandfather or your uncle or any male guardian. If you don't have any male relatives, the judge in the court will be your male guardian. And if you want to get an education, you want to get a passport, you want to travel, you want to get married, whatever you want to do, you need the male guardian to give you permission to do that. You are not human. And you believe it. There's nothing to fight. What do you fight? You can't fight the whole system. I didn't go back to Iran originally because I was afraid. Not that my husband would keep me there, but I was afraid of the whole system. I had nightmares about going and they would not let me come out. So I decided not to go. And then I started talking about the regime, and I can't go now, basically, because they'll kill me. Even sitting here talking about it, the defiance, the resistance, what we are doing, trying to educate people in the West about the realities of what we face on a daily basis, it messes with your head. How do you get out of bed every day knowing that you belong, like I'm a slave? We talk about how slavery is abolished. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. I'm a slave. The fact that my husband is not interested is beside the point. The fact that my dad did not kill me is just a very happy coincidence. He loved me to read more. He loved me to study. He loved me to get an education. He encouraged me to get out of Iran. Like, my dad was the main reason I left the country, because he knew I would not see my 30th and my 40th. He knew I'd die.
Sarah, before we started the recording, you were going through some of the numbers, like just the level of violence that is happening to, resistors in Iran right now. And maybe just tell women how bad it is, because we do not hear about this on the news.
Sharon was asking about the woman who was sentenced to death last week, and I asked which one. And the only thing I can do at this point is laugh, because that's the way I can react and stay sane. Because there are so many women on death row right now, and there are so many men on death row right now. Iran has executed upward of 150,000 people in the past 46 years. We have mass graves. In the summer of '88, that's one of my big memories. And I was like 6 years old. That's when they put me in hijab. Ghorbani became very famous. It became notorious because it became a mass grave, one of the mass graves. And they executed 50,000 people in the summer of '88. That was one of the big cleansings. Like, we don't have lots of names, but we have numbers, like people who went missing. Last Saturday, not this one, the one before, they executed 32 people at the morning call to prayer. 32 people in 18 different prisons in Iran in one day. In October, they have executed 89 people so far. Since the beginning of 2025, they have executed over 1,200 people that we know of. These are executions that are on the record. People go missing, people disappear. We have deaths with causes, unconfirmed causes. We don't know why they died, but they died somehow. There are executions that are not recorded, but they don't tell the family members what happened. So that's part of our normal everyday life. And I didn't understand. I'm a fairly intelligent human being. But until Yasmine told me that just because it's normalized, it's not normal, Sarah. It would not click for me. It was my life. That's the violence you live with. I didn't even understand that hijab was violence. And again, fairly intelligent, educated woman who's been working since I was 19 years old and survived the marriage to one of those people. But at the same time, to me, it's like, it's life. What do you do? And it's not being defeatist. What do you do? What can you do? And then I realized you can actually resist. You can actually use your voice. You can scream and loud and be a nuisance. Like, that's what I'm doing at this point. Just talking. I don't know if it does any good at the end of the day or not, but I don't know how else to fight this whole regime with all the money and centuries of power behind them.
I just wanted to add, everything that Sarah is talking about here is focused on the Islamic regime of Iran, of course. And people's knee-jerk reaction is to be like, well, that's just one country. But I have to remind you all, it's called the Islamic regime of Iran. And
Thank
they
you.
are following Sharia. So that's the same laws that you'll find in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Saudi Arabia. And that's why Sarah was saying UAE was no different than Iran, because they also follow Sharia laws there too. So all of these things that she's talking about, I can already see in the chat people saying, well, it's a small percentage, or it's just a small amount, or it's not everybody, or it's just one country. Which, first of all, can we acknowledge the cruelty and heartlessness and just dehumanization of that comment? It's just them. It's a small percentage. You know, when would we ever do that about any other people that are being victimized, that are being abused and traumatized and oppressed? When would we ever say, well, it's just 1 in every 5 women, you know, it's just 1 in every 3 women. So who really cares about it? We're not really going to acknowledge that. So does it have to be every single Muslim woman on the planet that's suffering before we're allowed to speak about it? When are we, at what percentage is it okay for us to speak about the atrocities that are going on without being forced to listen to the retort, but it's not everybody. So this is obviously Sara's experience, and this is something that's happening in Iran, but it is very much not only all the way across 57 Muslim majority countries, but across anywhere where Muslims reside. I was born and raised in Canada, right? Girls in Canada are killed over hijab, just like they're killed in Iran over hijab. Girls in the United States are killed over hijab. Girls in Sweden and France and Italy are killed over hijab. So this is a global issue, and it has nothing to do with geographic location. It has everything to do with these misogynist, insidious ideas that don't have borders. They travel across the whole world.
Thank you for
Thank you
that,
for that.
Yasmin.
That's beautiful.
This
Yeah.
is very important because whatever I talk about, I talk about my own personal experience as an example of what is happening to millions of women. And even if it's just one country, it's 40 million women in Iran. 40 million women in Iran deserve better. And I know it's over there, but it's also here. You have World Hijab Day in the West. And if you don't understand how scary that is to me, somebody who has, I cannot cover my hair. It gets minus 30 degrees here in Canada in the winter, and I refuse to wear a hat because my head would feel constricted. And then when I remove that hat, I can see my hair is just disheveled, and I feel like I was wearing hijab, and I have panic attacks. I have panic attacks over wearing a hat. Yasmine had panic attacks over having to cover her face during COVID. Wearing that mask would remind her of wearing that niqab. So I don't know who made that comment. I know a lot of people say that it's not all Muslims. It's not the real Islam. I honestly don't care if it's not the real Islam in your opinion. It's the reality of Islam, as Yasmine says all the time. It's the reality of millions of women in Afghanistan who do not have internet, and they're going to school online because they've been banned from education for the past 4 years. And I'm not going to do the scare tactic that this is going to happen to you. No, just because it's happening to them should be enough for you guys. If you're fighting for all women. If you're just fighting for yourselves, why are we even here?
But also, it is going to happen to you.
But also it is going to happen to you because it's happening. It is
It's
happening
already
right
happening.
now.
Yeah, it's happening throughout Europe. Ayaan Hirsi Ali wrote a book about that called Pray with an E, talking about how European women are, and you guys, I hope all of you have heard about the Rotherham gangs all across the UK, by Pakistani rape gangs, and how those women were completely ignored, and anybody who tried to speak up for them would lose their jobs, lose their reputation. You know, politicians, journalists, rape crisis center, you know, leaders, nobody could speak up for these girls because then they'd be speaking up against Muslim men. And so the warning is valid, you know, that this continues. We saw it happen in Israel on October 7th, the way there was this, no, this didn't happen. Nobody was raped. Nobody was, you know, no woman was hurt. And, you know, the lies, the absolute irrational and psychotic need to defend these oppressors of women over the women themselves is a global issue. We see it with Hindu girls in Pakistan. We see it with Christian girls in Nigeria. We see it all over the globe. So yeah, we are fighting for each other, but we're fighting for ourselves too. Like, do not ever think there's this insidious mix of, ignorance and arrogance here in the West where people think it's not going to happen to us. That's over there. That's not over here. Well, UK is pretty close, and Germany is pretty close. If you're familiar with what's happening in Sweden, right? All of these countries, this is not faraway lands. This is in your own backyard.
Curious if either of you would like to speak to the experience of wearing a hijab or a burqa. A lot of us have never met anyone who had to endure this, and we've been told so many times we're not allowed to talk about it because it's racist to name this as a form of coercive control and violence against women, which really pisses me off because it's obviously exactly that. But it's really good to hear it from someone who's been through it because you have moral standing that I'll never have. So if that's something you're comfortable talking about, that experience, that would be really great to tell women exactly what
I
it's
want
like.
I want to start with something and then I want Yasmine to talk about it because Yasmine's experience and the way she describes it is perfect, the way she talks about it in her book. Because Lierre used the word racist, and I hear the word Islamophobia, and I can read it in the chat as well. Islam is not a race. Don't let them silence you like that. That's point one. Criticizing Islam is not racist, and it's not a phobia because it's traumatic experiences. My fear of Islam is based on rational, traumatic fear that I have been carrying in my heart my whole life. It's not a phobia. It's a trauma. So anybody who throws that at you and says it's Islamophobia, just throw it back at them and say, no, it's not. It's a rational fear. I read that part in Yasmine's book where she talks about wearing the burqa and the niqab, and I can't breathe because I remember I never wore that. I only had hijab, but even I can't breathe. And I mentioned this on somebody's somebody was doing something on Instagram, and I said I can't breathe, and somebody said, oh, imagine women in Pakistan have to just wear this to protect themselves. No, it doesn't protect anybody. I was put in hijab when I was 6. You know how old I was the first time I got sexually assaulted? 11, on a bus filled with other women in hijab and men who do not understand consent. So all these different excuses that they throw at you, no, it's not a phobia. It's a rational fear. And if you are not afraid, you're not paying attention. That's the saying. So Yasmine, please, I know it's painful and it's hard, but go ahead, tell us, please.
I will talk about my experience, but I would like you to share with everybody about the morality police in Iran and how they are enforcing hijab on women, and about the woman life freedom movement and the women who are imprisoned. And just educate us all about that, please, Sara.
There's something in Iran called the morality police that's been there in different shapes and forms for as long as I can remember. And we would limit our movement around the city because we have this network of women informing each other that they are now stationed at this square or on this street and there are vans here. Be careful, don't go. So we are naturally limiting ourselves and we don't understand the violence that carries. It's just normal. That's how you preserve yourself. But you walk down the street and you see women wearing this black chadors and there are vans in there. And if you're showing hair, like at some point we were not allowed to wear white socks outside on the street. We would get arrested. I couldn't have my hair clipped up here under my hijab. I would get arrested. Remember, we used to have poofs right here in the 80s. We were not allowed to have poofs under our hijab because I was not allowed to have highlights in my hair. I was not allowed to wear red dresses or white dresses. We were not allowed to put our jeans into our boots in one summer because men would get aroused. That's the whole excuse behind it. So every summer they would come up with something. You are not allowed to wear red nail polish. You are not allowed to wear any nail polish. You're not allowed to wear jewelry. You're not allowed to put your glasses up here or down here, like what we do like this sometimes. You're not allowed to do that. Women are not allowed to smoke outside, and women are not allowed to lick ice cream out on the street. These are all reasons. So morality police is not there just to arrest you if you're not modest, which is violent in itself. That's different kind of violence. But even licking ice cream on the street would lead you to get arrested. Like if your dress is too tight or too short. if your toes are showing. There are different reasons that they come up with to arrest us, to limit our movements. So I think everybody on this chat knows Gina Massa Amini, who was arrested 3 years ago in September. And they beat her because we know what happens in the vans. There's so much violence happening behind closed doors, and she lost consciousness and she died 3 days later in the hospital. And people came out on the street. And now you can see videos of women dancing on the street, singing, not wearing hijab, and everybody's like, oh, there's no morality police anymore, there's no hijab anymore. No, it's resistance. Every single woman going outside not wearing hijab is resisting. It's defiance. They could get arrested, they could get killed. Women are still getting killed. Masa Jina Amini is not the only one. Within the first 100 days after her murder, people went out on the street for Women Life Freedom uprising. 551 people got killed. More than 20,000 people were arrested. That's how they silence everybody. People are still getting executed. The execution numbers that I was talking about, these are some of those people. Somebody got killed. They shot at his head in his car when he was honking his horn. Because people were walking in front of him, women were walking and they were saying, Women Life Freedom, moving their hijab in the air, and he started honking his horn in support. And they shot at him, and he died in his car. That's how they control us. So we are always afraid. There's always fear in your heart, whatever you do. I still have nightmares of being in Iran on the street, forgetting my hijab. I walk down the street here in Toronto and I feel the wind in my hair and I start panicking. Like, I forgot my hijab. And then I have to talk myself down. You are not in Tehran anymore. They're not going to arrest you. They don't have morality police here. You are safe. I have to talk myself down. I pass the window and I see my hair and I panic. Imagine that your hair makes you feel panicked because you've lived with this violence your whole life, that if you show your hair, not only you're going to go to hell, but also you're going to get arrested. And my dad told me very early on, I was in my early teens, that if you get arrested, they'll bring you back in a shroud. We don't have coffins, we have shrouds. They'll bring you back in a shroud because I don't have enough money to pay them off. And I'll have to bury you. I hope that's enough. I don't know.
That's very powerful, and we need to hear it. We need to break through this wall. We need to hear this.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So Yasmine, do you want to tell us a little bit of whatever you feel like sharing about your experience?
So, I was put in hijab at the age of 9, which is an important age because that is the age that Aisha was when her marriage was consummated with Muhammad. She was 6 years old when he married her. And that's the age when a girl is considered an adult. She's a woman now. So you have to wear hijab to, as Sarah was saying, protect yourself from men, protect yourself from enticing them, right? It's your responsibility. It's all about rape culture. It's all victim blaming. Like, we know all of these things, but when it comes to Islam, suddenly it's like, oh, it's their culture. We won't talk about it. So yeah, girls were given this image as young girls of a lollipop that's covered and a lollipop that's uncovered. And we're told, which lollipop would you prefer? This one with the cover on it, or this one that's uncovered and it's full of bugs and dirt and, flies and whatnot? Which one would you prefer? And of course, they're using lollipops because they're coercing little children, right? And of course, the little girl would prefer the lollipop that's covered. And they say, you see, this is why you have to cover yourself so that you can be clean and pure, not filthy like all these women that are uncovered. You don't want to be like them. So that's like the docile side of the coercion that goes all the way up to threatening with violence and indeed violence. As Sarah was saying, imprisonment, torture, killing girls even over hijab. So it's a long, they'll use any method to control girls. And in the same way that Sarah had to wear hijab to go to school, I also had to because I was going to an Islamic school in Canada. It's very different for her because she's living in a country where there's morality police everywhere. You can't escape it. For me, Sharia was the community I was living in. The morality police were my family and my community. And at the age of 19, I was put in niqab. So up until 19, I had to cover everything except for my face and hands. And there's so much more that comes with hijab. Like that's just the physical representation, that's the visual representation of the slavery, but you don't see all of the other elements. It's like an iceberg. With a slave, you're just seeing the handcuffs, but you're not seeing everything else, right? So that's what the hijab is. It's the handcuffs. It's the part that you can see. But you're all of this being taught to be subservient and to lower your voice and to lower your eyes, and you are nothing, and you are here to serve men, and all of that. You're not seeing all of that. And so at 19, when I was forced to marry the terrorist, I was put in hijab by him, or sorry, niqab. So delivered from Saudi Arabia came face coverings, gloves, thick black socks, black abaya. Imagine a Dementor from Harry Potter. That's exactly what I looked like. My face, it was covered with a thinner piece of black cloth so that I could see through it. So there was no contact with the outside world. I was walking around like a ghost. Nobody can see me, but I can see everybody. I can't interact with anybody. I can't even make eye contact. I can't see properly. I can't hear properly. I can't touch things properly because of the gloves. I'm in a complete portable sensory deprivation chamber. And it's really hard for me to explain to people how dehumanizing that is, how you rot underneath that covering. In my talks, sometimes I bring in a niqab and I pass it to people in the audience and I ask them to put it on their face. And within a few seconds, people are feeling claustrophobic. It doesn't take long before you recognize how horrible it is to force women in this death shroud as they're still breathing. And that was niqab. And as Sarah was saying, the days of COVID when, I had to wear a mask, I would sit in my car crying and having a panic attack until I could finally just exhaust myself enough to put this mask on if I had to go out somewhere. I tried not to go out anywhere, but just the your body remembers all of this. Your body carries all of this and you don't even know it. Canadian winter is putting a scarf around my neck. If it comes up near my face, I panic immediately. It's so much more than a piece of cloth. And what Sarah was describing about how all of these years later, feeling the wind in her hair and panicking, like it's that. It's so hard to overcome these things. It's I don't want to say it's ingrained in us because I want to believe that there will be a day when these things won't affect us. But the damage that's done is so, so deep. And it's now our responsibility to find and clean up and fix this mess that was made of us so that we can live as normal lives as will be possible for us. And that's why it's really important for us to speak up and to express this, is because we want women out there to have less healing to do than what we're engrossed in. We don't want this to be something that is not only normalized, not only excused, but celebrated in the West. Celebrated. There's hijab in all media, advertisements, apps, movies, everywhere. They're acting as if it's this feminist thing. It's all about inclusivity and diversity, and the betrayal, it's not history. This is, women are currently in prison right now over hijab. And here in the West, you're celebrating this thing. You're selling hijabs at women's marches. You've got a American flag contorted into a hijab at the Women's March in 2016. Like it's so mind-bendingly stupid and hurtful. And that's why it's really important for us to speak up so that we can get fellow feminists to understand the lie that you've been sold by Islamists. You're being sold this by the propagandists that want hijab to be celebrated. They're happy about it. You're not going to find your average feminist, freedom-loving Muslim woman happy about this. You're going to find the political Muslims, the Islamists, the ones who want to oppress women. They're the ones that are happy about it. The other women are just trying to survive. They would love to free their face. They would love to free their hair, right? Here in the West, we talk about free the nipple. What about free their face, free their hair, right? They deserve that freedom as well. We should be supporting them instead of supporting their oppressors by saying, oh, that's Islamophobic. Let me support this piece of misogyny, this, this rape culture. Let me support it and celebrate it all over everywhere in the West.
Just to finish what Yasmine is talking about, there's this video of this Welsh MP going around where she talks about how they
Oh
put
God,
this
yeah.
little child, a white girl, in hijab, and she walked down the street and she felt different, and how this is inclusive and how it helps them understand everything better. And the betrayal, the dehumanization. I sat there thinking, how about talking about freeing the girls who are forced to wear hijab? No, it's not a choice. It's not a choice. It's never been a choice. It's not a choice for 40 million women in Iran. It's not a choice for anybody living in Afghanistan. It wasn't a choice for Yasmine living here in Canada. It wasn't a choice for Aqsa Parvaz, who was murdered for hijab here in Canada, right next to my neighborhood. It's not a choice, people. Anybody who tells you it's a choice is just selling you a lie. That Welsh woman standing there talking about how this is helping people understand what? Subjugation? What's next? You're gonna have people go work at the plantations to understand what slavery is and it's bad? Like, you can't understand slavery is bad? What's the next? Then you have ISIS, your freedom fighters, having their slave markets in your neighborhoods to teach you that slavery is bad. Like, do you actually need this practice, or is it just to further dehumanize us, fetishize us, and give you this sense of superiority? I don't understand. Like, I'm trying not to be negative about it. I try not to say this is your white savior complex speaking at this point, but there's no other way for me to look at it. When you have World Hijab Day, Yasmin created this No Hijab Day on February 1st, which is the official World Hijab Day, and we celebrate No Hijab Day every year on February 1st. And I invite everybody to submit your pictures. Every year, she comes up with a fabulous theme. We have something that would celebrate and remind people that it's not a choice. Wearing hijab is not a choice. From a very young age, we are brainwashed, stigmatized, lashed, imprisoned, harassed, raped, murdered, assaulted, imprisoned, to teach us that we have to be subjugated, we are not human enough, we are, I don't want to use the word oppressed, but I don't know what else to say about this. We are not human in this system. And that hijab is a reminder every day, because men look at it, and that's why it was created to begin with. If you're wearing hijab, you're a Muslim woman, they don't assault you. If you're not wearing hijab, you're fair game. It used to be that. Now, because in Muslim majority countries, in Muslim countries, everybody's supposed to wear hijab, they assault you anyway, because consent doesn't exist. The word consent doesn't exist in that religion, and it's not a culture, because I can see people using the word culture. It's not a culture. Culture is music, culture is dance, culture is books, literature, food, language, history. As Yasmine says very eloquently in her book, the only thing connecting all these 57 countries is their religion, and religion is not culture. Religion needs to be criticized. Hijab is part of it. Gender apartheid is part of it. Child marriage is part of it. Lack of consent, marital rape, domestic abuse, polygyny, anti-Semitism is a huge part of it. Dimitude, Jews living as second-class citizens, like women living as second-class citizens, is a huge part of it. And they're just importing it into your country and selling it to you as your culture or multiculturalism or DEI. Don't buy
Or
this.
hiding under religious freedom.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, I know we're running out of time now. Tell us what do you think Western women can do? We have a tremendous amount of freedom, even we don't always feel it, but we absolutely have it. What can we do to help? Because this to me is just one of the, you are literally from The Handmaid's Tale, you know, and everyone will wear those red things when they go out to protest, and it is very dramatic as they all walk down the street. But I just want everyone to understand this is for real. Like Margaret Atwood took that from real places where that was happening to women, and you've escaped from that. And I want to help women who are in the worst possible condition. We need to see this as you know, globally, we are all sisters, and if it can happen to you, it can happen to me. This is you know, it's like the people in 1850 who were trying to fight slavery. You know, this needs to be up front and center on the human rights kind of schedule here. Like, when are we going to get to this? So what words do you have to say to women like me from the West? Like, what can we do to help you? What do you need the most? What would you
Yeah,
like to see us
you
do?
answered your own question, Lierre. You know, this is it right here, what you're doing right now, raising awareness, supporting us. You know what? We're so used to being dehumanized that we're just happy to not be attacked. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if you're just going to ignore us, we're happy, as opposed to those who actively try to silence us and who are actively attacking us. I mean, my book, for 2 years, I tried to get my book published, and there was no way. And in the end, I had to self-publish it. And it's been translated into 17 different languages. It is a successful book. People want to read it. But the industry was too scared, right? The Islamic regime or the Islamists have created this term Islamophobia. It rhymes with xenophobia, homophobia, all of these other things, right? That people are like, oh, I want to jump on that bandwagon. I want to be the good person that's going to silence people from criticizing Islam. They're actually doing the work of the morality police when they do that, right? They are the useful idiots that the Islamists are so happy to have supporting them, silencing any criticism of Islam, silencing people like me, silencing people like Sara. And instead, the voices that are being heard are the voices that are people who are telling you, I love my hijab. It's feminist. It is empowering. It is a choice. And as Sara was saying, it's never a choice. Test that. A choice means you can put it on or you could take it off. So go ahead, take it off. Show me how it's a choice. And there's your answer. Because you all know that there's no way she would take it off, right? She'd be putting her life in danger. And that's how you know it's not a choice. That's how you know that whole thing is a lie. It's just this big propaganda machine that has been so successful in silencing other feminist groups and other women and other humanists and human rights groups all across the world, silencing them so that they're no longer willing to hear our voices. And in fact, they do their best to silence us. So what you're doing today, Lierre, is, as Goldie was saying, this is monumental. This is huge. This is the first time ex-Muslim women have been embraced by a Western feminist group. This is the first time this has happened. You know, in my book, I was writing all about how I was hoping and wishing that this could happen one day because we have the same goals, right? But we left this religion and these really, really, really far right fascist ideology, and we came running over to the left, right? And then the progressive left just spat on us.
Yeah.
And told us that we are racist, we're Islamophobic, we're bigoted, we're self-hating, we're this, we're that. And then we found ourselves with no home, just completely betrayed. And you know what that feels like because you've gone through the same thing. A lot of people on this call are understanding that betrayal, you know, and Jewish women really understand that, especially since October 7th, too. They get that right now. And so it's like it's an opportunity for us to feel like we're not in this alone because we've been feeling that way for a very long time. That was the whole purpose of me starting my podcast and inviting Sara to speak and everything. I was like, nobody wants to hear us. Let's listen to each other, you know? That was the most I could do. And so for now, for this ripple effect to be happening and for others to be willing to not only listen to us, but to express the same messages, to share in our advocacy, to share in trying to educate. That is everything. That is everything. When you hear people say things and you know that it's wrong, you know that doesn't sound right, just be a little bit more brave in trying to counter the propaganda that you're hearing and seeing everywhere. Speak up. You know, look at the women of Iran and how incredibly brave they are. And I'm not asking anybody to be as brave as Iranian women because they're something superhuman, like, you know, but we can look up to them, right? There is no IRGC. You're in the freest country in the world. You know, you can speak your mind. Somebody in the chat quoted Christopher Hitchens, a really beautiful quote where he talked about this whole Islamophobia garbage. And he said, I implore you, resist while you still can. And if you haven't seen this speech by Christopher Hitchens, Google it. Christopher Hitchens, resist while you still can. His words are prophetic because we are at the point right now where people feel like they can't. People feel like they can't resist. And that's the beginning of the end. So we need to try and somehow, you know, pull things back, unring this bell, and start resisting.
Well, it's like one example was, I mean, poor Salman Rushdie. Look what happened to him.
Yes.
Decades. And I remember when that first started, and well, he's going to have to go into hiding, and we're going to put 10 men on his protection detail. I'm like, why aren't you doing something to the people who are threatening him?
Exactly.
Why are you just accepting that this man is going to have to live like this for the rest of his life? Do something. You're the state. This is supposed to be the West. We don't do this.
Instead, they argued about it.
And then they got him.
Yeah,
And
but
then
they
got
argued
him.
about
He
it
lost an
all over.
eye.
Yeah, and you
And
had the
women who
Pope, and you had all of
it
these
was
people saying, "Well, you know, Iran has
he
a
kind of
has
brought
a
it on
point."
himself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Carter said it.
Yep.
Even Jermaine Greer. I mean, it was like, well, it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be happening, but this is what happens if you're going to
Yeah.
speed up again. Oh, you shouldn't question people's religion. Like,
You know
No,
how many
we're
death threats I receive for Yasmine on it, because I am her communications coordinator. So you know, just the amount of threats, veiled or unveiled, pun intended, I receive for Yasmine or for myself, and I'm a nobody in this fight. I'm just one woman, but like what? No, I don't have that. This is my reach, and I appreciate you guys listening to me. But the number of death threats I receive for Yasmine, this is our lives.
and it's real.
It's real.
These men will stab you, behead you, throw acid on your faces. They
Absolutely.
will kill you. This isn't
Any
Absolutely.
chance,
yeah.
any chance they get.
Absolutely. And it's here. Like we were walking down this in a mall, and my husband is wearing this T-shirt that says FCK HMS. We made
Right.
the T-shirt, and there's a watermelon on it. And the way people look at him, somebody was about to jump him the other day, just because there's a T-shirt that is not supporting a terrorist group.
Right.
It's a terrorist group, people. Hamas is a terrorist group. I don't care what everybody else says about it. Like, we've got hours of videos of them raping Jewish women. And
No,
we
I know.
cannot just not support it out in public and say we are against rape of Jewish women. So this is what's happening. This is what Yasmine has this amazing new special series where she's talking about Islam and the West. And I implore you to listen to the first episode. You're going to record the second episode on Friday. And Yasmine is trying to educate people about why. We are talking about just a glimpse, our personal experiences as ex-Muslim women. This is happening everywhere. It's an expansion. It's a colonialism of Islam happening in the West. And your countries are at risk. The West is at risk. If you listen to what Yasmine is saying in the podcast, you will understand much better what we're talking about. It's too much to unfold here and explain here, but that's been the goal for the past 100 years. It's expansion and it's colonialism under Islam Sharia law. And by being kind and inclusive and following DEI and not wanting to be a phobia or whatever, you're just allowing it to happen much faster, much easier. I've survived it already. Yasmine has survived it already. I'm not gonna die. I watch this happening in the West. I'm like, Canada doesn't want me. Canada, I don't belong to this country. Doesn't matter that I'm a citizen. I never belonged. And I've already survived this. I'll survive. I don't want to see you guys trying to survive it as well. I don't wish it on my worst enemy, to be honest.
The rights that have been fought and won in the West, I didn't realize how precious they were really until the last 2 years. You sort of take it for granted, it's just the river you swim in, and it's like, oh, we've got all our complaints about everything we've done wrong, but separation of church and state, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, everything in the First Amendment. People died to win these things, It took hundreds of years for Europe to get there. And is it just going to be this brief few hundred years where we have them, and then it gets swallowed up in darkness again? And I don't know. And I don't want that to be true. Because it's been incredible. All the freedom that I've managed to get for myself and then try to win for other women is all built on that. And I don't even think I realized it, how precious those things were. But then when you feel different threats from different areas coming and trying to take it away, you realize, oh, this was a good foundation that other people over generations built for me. And then the women came and built more for me. And I've lived my whole life never having to be married, and I can own a house, and I'm allowed to leave that house, and I've been able to breathe my entire life because I'm not wearing a corset or a burqa. And all of that can be taken away so quickly. And you learn the history of places like Iran and Afghanistan, and it was taken away that quickly. And we need to really, really defend what we have here. And then we need to make sure that every woman gets it and we all build on it. So if you will stick around a little bit longer, we do have some questions in the chat for you. I don't know if you need to leave because we're well over an hour at this point, and I don't want to take more of your time than you have to give. But just say the word, and we'll have Goldie read you the best hits from the chat.
Yeah, so you still have time, right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to go through. I also just wanted to say really quickly, and you've said this, but when you're saying, Sarah, earlier, and Yasmine, you're saying this is, Islamic society, I was half a man, I'm deficient. I know you're quoting Islam,
Yep.
but this is not. So when you get into that discussion of that's not all Islam, no, this is Islam, and you always
That's the
get this.
doctrine.
That I knew what you were quoting, and so I don't know that people know. Oh, that must be extreme Islam versus
Nope, these are
Islam.
verses from Quran. I can quote you
Right.
verses, numbers, names
And
of the
hadith.
verses, and hadith. We can quote everything for you guys. We've gotten educated in it all our lives.
Right.
Let's
Okay, so I'm
force
going to
the
go through
points.
some of the questions. So if you've written one, it'll have a Q in it. One of them, some of them, if you've touched on, we'll just sort of sum up. Would you agree the extremist Islamists adhere to quote, use our freedoms against us to advance jihad against the West? And again, there that is extreme Islam versus regular, so you can take that. Next question.
I can answer that one really quickly.
Oh, yes.
Yes. That is part of the agenda. My next guest on the series that Sarah mentioned, Islam in the West, my next guest is a man named Hamid Abdul-Samad, who wrote a book called Islamic Fascism, where he's going to unpack that exact issue.
Oh,
yes, the Muslim Brotherhood over 100 years ago decided, they had the 100-year plan, it was a manifesto on how they were going to spread Islam across the West. And one of those methods was going to be using secular laws against themselves. And that is something that they have been doing just brilliantly across the Western world. And it is incredibly successful. So very short answer is yes. And for the long answer, please watch the episode that I'm going to have with Hamid, episode 2 of Islam in the West, where we're going to go into much more detail about that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Next question. To bring up these issues in my circles invites a pushback that these extremes are just a small portion of Islam and that Muslims are good, peaceful, oppressed, etc. I have known Sufi Muslims in New York who were indeed very peaceful. But I don't know how to discuss the human rights / women's rights concerns without being accused of Islamophobia. So how do you handle that label of, and for some of us, it's very, we'll see the parallels, but you're bigot, you're racist, you're Islamophobic. What is something that you can push back on? And in terms of the Sufi Islam, just to quickly explain, I know they're considered heretics. So, but anyway, that's on you to.
Sufi Muslims are killed by mainstream Muslims. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Sarah, I'll let you take this one because I think I ranted enough on this topic.
I don't want to rant anymore. We are humans. Why is my humanity any less of yours? So you get pushback. So they
Right.
call you a name. So what? Look at my Twitter handle. I'm collecting these names. They call me a whore. They call me a bitch. They call me a witch. They call me a pussy. They call me a magi. They call me a haram look. They call me a fascist, a Nazi. Any name in the book that you can think of, I've been called, and I collect them and I put them up on my Twitter handle, and it confuses the hell out of everybody. Why do you call yourself a whore? No, I didn't. You did. But you're too stupid to understand. So I'm collecting these names. Let's see how you react to them when I own them. What else do you have to throw at me? So they push back. So they call you names. You are a human. You are an adult. You are independent. You understand your autonomy and your dignity. Do I deserve the same or not? If I do, you stand up for me the same way I stand up for you. If I don't deserve it, I don't know why we're having this conversation. I don't know how else to explain and to talk about this without sounding angry. I am angry. I'm not apologizing for it. I am extremely angry because I've been dehumanized again and again and again for 43 years, even in the West. So they call you a name. Is it more important for you to be kind, or is it more important for you to be right? So why are you fighting against trans movement? Why are you not kind to them? What's the difference? I'm human. You don't see my humanity. Mina, our friend who is in Afghanistan, who's trying to get an education online, doesn't have the internet. It took me 3 months of sending emails back and forth, trying to get her registered at the university online because she could not access the internet and she could not pay for her own education. And now she doesn't have the internet. Women in Afghanistan are not allowed to look out the window. They are not allowed to watch the path with both eyes. I know you think it's over there and it's not happening to us and it's not all Muslims. Do not all Muslim us. Do you say not all men?
Right.
It sounds just as ridiculous when somebody says not all Muslims. Do not all Muslim me at this point. I'm sorry, I sound angry. I am angry. It's driving me. This is the only thing I have at this point. I can't be kind and peaceful and just logical and have a conversation with you in a Zen voice. I'm mad. I'm screaming. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, no, thank you so much. It's exactly, I say this evening, just women need to get over the fear of being called a bigot. It's today's witch. That's what it is. It's meant to, you're so terrified of this because Sara earlier said, I don't know what it is. Is it also a racism? Yes, there's also that, but women are terrified. Western
There
women
is
of being called a bigot.
There is anti-Muslim bigotry, and Muslims have to deal with it.
Right.
Just like any other minority, majority, ethnicity, group of people who have to deal with bigotry. Muslims are not special. It's your white racism, your white savior complex that tells you you understand this better. You don't trust us when we talk about our experiences. And I'm not talking about women sitting here. It's the answer that I'm giving to everybody who's going to watch this later on YouTube. So think about this. It's either your white savior complex that tells you you can do better than us. If this happened to us, it's because we deserved it. There are other Muslims who are nice and good. You know how many times I've heard if you were a good Muslim, this would not have happened to you? You know how dehumanizing that is? Or racism of low expectations. They are just brown people over there. They don't understand any better. We can be kind to them and they don't do this to us. Look what happened in the UK to white girls. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them for decades. Don't tell me that you can do better than us. We've been trying. We've been giving blood for our freedom, for our humanity to be recognized. It's virtue signaling. There are just one of these. Take your pick. That I'm better. I don't want to be a bigot. I'm a bigot. So what? Wanting to be a complete, full, autonomous human being makes me bigot? Okay. Words have lost their meaning. I'm a bigot. Go ahead, Goldie. Next question, please.
Next question. If a woman, excellent. If a woman escaping this kind of abuse needs help, what resources should we direct her towards? Any organizations or services capable of helping these women? Please let us know about your, it was mentioned very briefly in the intro, but a little bit more about your organization and the Clarity Coalition.
Yeah, please ask her to reach out to me. On my website, there's a contact form, and we will do everything in our power to support her. We have a network, a global network, and yes, please ask her to reach out to us.
Okay, so if you know someone, tell them to check it out. And did you want to say anything more about your organization?
We're running out of time, so I don't want to
Okay.
go too far into the weeds, but yeah, just rest assured that's we're here to support women across the world.
Don't see if anyone has a question, if you can just repeat it quickly in the chat. And I was just going to say that you mentioned Christopher Hitchens, his wonderful definition. While we look for questions, is Islamophobia a word created by fascists, used by cowards to manipulate morons?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't see any. Elspeth, if you see any other questions, Sharon.
One more question.
Oh, wait, here. Yes.
That just came in. Please share the name of the organization again. Somebody who had arrived late, just.
Yeah, so you can go to yasminemohammed.com, and there's a contact form there. The organization is Free Hearts, Free Minds, but that's specifically for ex-Muslims. And so it's just come to my website, and Sarah and I will support the person with whatever they need, depending on what country they're in. It's so individualized. So yeah, just have her reach out to yasminemohammed.com.
Well, we should probably let them go. We've kept them for half an hour over our allotted time. I just am so just honored to have been able to, yeah, just to talk to you and hear your thoughts on all of this and let you tell your stories. And I just admire you all so much. And we're gonna get this done, right? We're either gonna have a better world or it's all going down. So we've just got to put women front and center and fight for all of us. That's all I got here. So thank you so much for coming and for being brave and telling us your stories and trusting us that we will do something good with it, because we will. I promise you, you're not alone in this world. We are with you. So
Thank you, Lierre.
Thank you, Lierre. It means the world to us.
Thank you, all of you.
thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you,
We will do
Sharon,
this
Elspeth,
again, and
Goldie, and everyone for joining.
everybody, all the wolf women for coming. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So until next time, everybody stay strong.